14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause requires each state to provide equal protection to each citizen, including racial segregation and gender discrimination. What are your general thoughts, and do you see it applied, especially with women in the workforce and the glass ceiling?
Yes, I mean, I think we see racial discrimination everywhere we go, religious discrimination all around us. I think we see gender discrimination everywhere there is. Wage. Are women earning the same wage as men? And I think 95% of the time the answer is no. That's anecdotal in my own personal opinion. But I very rarely see equity there. Gender discrimination, I think women still today work harder to prove their worth and their merit in professional school admissions. An example, medical schools, you read articles that medical schools really have admitted more than 50% of their incoming class is female. And yet, 2/3 of women in the medical field will leave the medical profession.
I didn't know that.
Same with law. And why is that? Well, balancing everything in this day and age is very difficult. And so very often you'll see a lot of discrimination on the job as a result of that, saying, well, are you going to stay in the job market or not? Are you going to practice law forever or not? Are you going to be a practicing physician or not? Should we take a chance? Now, is it spoken these days? Probably not. Is it there? Probably. That would be my guess. Religious discrimination.
Higher Education Act, Title IX. This prohibited discrimination based on gender by universities, colleges receiving federal aid. What are your general thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think the overlying principle is really valid. You want to make sure that people have access to higher education regardless of gender, because that's a federal law, and if states are being schools are being supported by the federal government, they need to abide by those expectations too. And I think it's really important. I think it was really the key that opened the door for women in many areas. I went to law school back in the 70s. If I hadn't been female, chances are I probably wouldn't have gotten in. That's my own take on it. My scores were okay, but not stellar to get into professional school. However, they need a certain number of women, or percentage. So you're right on the cusp. So if I'm there competing against the male candidate and they need women, I'll get in. Really interesting that it works in your favor. I think that's an interesting dichotomy, especially when it happens to you.
Yeah.
So is it right? Is it